Apache vs. Comanche, the brutal war that nearly wiped out the Apache. Welcome to History Rewrite. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey through the untold story of our past. Today, we are diving into one of the most brutal and forgotten conflicts in Native American history, the Apache versus the Comanche, the war that nearly erased a people. This wasn't a brief skirmish. It was a generational blood feud, a war so devastating that even the Spanish colonizer described it as a fight for total extermination. Please, if you are new here, subscribe to our channel. By the late 1500s, the Apache had carved out a dominant position on the southern Great Plains. Their territory offered the best of both worlds: fertile lands of farming and prime buffaloes hunting grounds. But to the north, a displaced tribe, small, bitter, and brutalized, was watching the Comanche. One forced into the barren Rockies by stronger tribes like the Apache, the Comanche were outcasts. But everything changed with one unexpected gift: the horse. Let's look at the Spanish expansion and the horse revolution. The Spanish, fresh off their conquest in Mexico, pushed north into New Mexico around 1600. With them came weapons, steel, and most importantly, horses. The Apache, always watching, began riding Spanish outposts. They learned to ride. By the 1650s, they were master of horseback warfare, fast, elusive, and deadly. Spanish settlements like Tao and Santo Fe trembled under constant raids, but their rise had an unintended consequence: the Great Horse Dispersal. Let's look at the rise of the Comanche. In 1680, a Pueblo revolt drove the Spanish out of New Mexico and left behind thousands of horses. The Comanche were among the first to seize them. And they did not just ride them, they bred them. While other tribes stole horses, the Comanche built herds. Horses became wealth, power, and warfare. The Comanche gave up farming entirely. They became nomadic riders with ranges of up to 400 miles. If you were anywhere near the plains, you were in danger. Let's look at the war on the Apache. The Apache had created the conditions for their own undoing. The very horses that had empowered them were now the tools of their destruction. By the early 1700s, strange reports reached Spanish ears. Apache bands were vanishing. The foreigners, Calenas, and Palomas tribes were exterminated by a mysterious mounted enemy. It was the Comanche. The Comanche didn't seek land alone. They wanted vengeance, buffalo territory, and domination. Their raids were surgical, devastating, and terrifying. Let's look at the Comanche age. What made the Comanche so terrifying? They fought on horseback completely. They fired arrows with deadly precision while hanging off their mount side, using the horse's body as a shield. They attacked under the full moon, so often that settlers called it the Comanche moon. George Catlin, an artist who witnessed them firsthand, said, "On foot, they are one of the most unattractive races I've seen, but on horseback, they became extraordinary." The Apache, by contrast, often dismounted to fight. They were predictable, tied to their crops. That predictability cost them dearly. Let's look at the strategic collapse. By the 1720s, most plain Apache bands were gone or in hiding. One final group, the Lipan, held on. In 1723, the Comanche launched a final massive assault. The battle lasted days. The Lipans were broken and survivors fled to Spanish territory. Let's look at the San Saba trap, called San Saba. In 1749, the Apache entered San Antonio, asking for a mission to be built in their territory. The Spanish agreed. But something was off. When construction began at San Saba in 1757, the Apache were nowhere to be found. Then came the truth. The Apache had led the Spanish into Comanche territory, hoping to revoke their enemies into a war with Spain. It worked. The massacre and retreat. In March 1758, under a full moon, thousands of Comanche and allied warriors surrounded the mission. They entered peacefully, but once inside, they turned on the priests. Father Toreros and others were slaughtered. The mission was burned to the ground. The Presidio nearby braced for attack, but the Comanche never came. They had made their point very clear. The Spanish retaliation and failure. A year later, the Spanish tried to retaliate. It ended in disaster. At the Red River, they faced double their numbers and were forced into a humiliating retreat, abandoning cannons and supplies. The Apache plans had backfired. The Spanish could not protect them. The Comanche could not be stopped either. Let's look at the turning point. The Comanche-Spanish alliance. By 1780, Spanish Texas was in chaos. Raids were constant. Settlements were crumbling. But a Spanish officer, Juan Bautista de Anza, did what no one else could. He beat the Comanche in open battle using their own tactics. Then, in a brilliant political move, he offered peace. The Comanche agreed, but with a condition. They would help destroy the Apache. The final blow. In 1790, Spanish and Comanche forces united. They attacked the remaining Lipan Apache near San Antonio. Hundreds were killed. Survivors flee to the mountains, never to return to the plains. The Comanche were now undisputed masters of the American Great Plains. Let's look at the closing thoughts. The war between the Apache and Comanche is one of the most savage and overlooked in North American history. The Comanche weren't simply warriors. They were tacticians, breeders, diplomats, and masters of psychological warfare. But their empire, like all empires, wouldn't last. The Apache would rise again in the mountain, and one day, both the Spanish and the Comanche would face an even greater force. But that is a story for another day. Thank you for watching History Rewrites. If you found this story fascinating, give this video a like, leave a comment, and let us know what you would like us to cover next. And of course, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out the next journey into the past. Until next time, remember, history does not just repeat itself. Sometimes it rewrites itself. Thank you for watching. See you in our next video. Bye for now.